Welcome back to Champ Talk with Branden Hudson. We are back in action after a busy weekend this weekend. I can't wait to get on here and talk about it. But first, you know the drill. If you guys get value out of this episode or know someone who would, please share this episode to somebody that can use what we talk about, be inspired, be motivated, be useful, anything you got. Share it with them. And also, please hit the like and subscribe button on all platforms. Give us a review. Let us know what you think about it. Comment, all the good things, right? But we're back in action. I've got Mr. Chet Corman here. He is here to assist me with this wonderful episode. And boy, do we got a lot to talk about.
We do. Yeah.
How was your weekend, Chet?
It was a great weekend.
Set you right up.
I was going to say, I'm a little chilly right now. And man, he's even got his flannel on over there. But you know what I think it is?
Yeah.
Because I like it. It feels good. It's invigorating. But I think it's because it was such a beautiful weekend outside.
Yep.
All over, outside, mostly in Harrington. Delaware. Yep. State Fairgrounds.
Yep.
And
Casino.
yeah, just great weather. We had great weather. It was just beautiful out there. So I think maybe that's why I'm feeling a little chilly today, because it was just.
Yes, and you're leaving out the most important part that we want to talk about is it was an action-packed weekend of fights.
Oh, I'm not leaving it out.
Now, this isn't going to be, don't leave it in. Okay. This isn't going to be a episode where we just talk about fights and give you sports jargon, right? We're going to touch a little bit on that, but this is more about just the experience that we had and what we went through and what we saw, witnessed, all the above. But this weekend, we had the WKA World Kickboxing Muay Thai tournament go down this at the Harrington grounds at the casino in Delaware. And that's a once a year annual thing that they do. It's a 3-day tournament. It's a lot of teams from all over the East Coast, a lot of fighters, and actually Midwest as well. There were some teams out there. A lot of people that were, there I mean, dude, we saw kids about 5 years old, 6 years old with Muay Thai gear on and kickboxing stuff. So it was all ages, adults, kids, the whole nine, and we brought it. And then the same weekend, right there at Harrington, because that's where Stellar Fights puts together their shows.
Right next door.
Right next door, they had Stellar Fights 68, which was.
I always look forward to this weekend.
Dude, it's a great weekend. It's a busy weekend.
It's busy,
a great
it's long,
weekend.
but it's awesome.
But Stellar Fights was Saturday night, and that was they always do this weekend. They do the big kids night, so they had more kids than they've ever had this turnout. He does free kids, and they have like a bounce house, and they have all these cool little things that they like to play and have fun. It's a great venue, great opportunity, it's a lot of fun. But that was this weekend, man. It was so freaking packed, dude. It was so many teams, people, and we had 8 competitors this weekend. We had 2 minors, 2 females, 2 adults, and then 2 people in Stellar Fights. My nephew Addison made his debut, and he's 16 years old. And then big Joey Osborne sat there and got in there for the second time. And yeah, man, it was a really action-packed weekend. What was your takeaways from what you got? Like, what I know we talked a little bit in the meeting today, but
yeah,
more so like being a fly on the wall and being obviously so invested in SBY and SBY MMA and so invested in, here in Champ Talk and in the world. And I mean, you've done, I mean, you were working at the radio or the TV station when they were doing their shows. I mean, you are the epitome of combat sports. Lifelong martial artist. What was your takeaways from what you saw this weekend before we get really into the meat and potatoes?
One of the things, it was nice to run into Kayla Santiago again.
Yeah, shout out to Kayla.
Yeah, former coworker, but she was always on site for with DSN for Stellar stuff.
Which I didn't tell you. I got her number. Okay, not in that way, folks. Not in that way. She potentially could be making an appearance on Champ Talk.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, so
we talked a little bit about some things too, keeping her informed and up to date.
Yep.
So that was good seeing her.
She's really good at her job, by the way.
She's awesome.
She's excellent at her job. I appreciate, her when she first started, when we did the Salisbury show, she was like, very green, kind of trying to, a little nervous, and now she's like all in, and I love Kayla. She's so great, man.
And she was eager to learn, though. She's like, tell me everything I need to know. I want to know what this is about. This is a different world. I can see her going, as they say, going places, going far. So,
well, if she gets on Champ Talk, she will.
What catapulted your career?
From all of our millions of listeners.
So
anyway,
it was kind of weird not being involved in that part of it. But it was also, very cool to kind of be, like you said, a fly on the wall. Other than just watching the fights, and knowing the work that everybody's put in and getting to see it here on a daily basis, the literal blood, sweat, and tears. And I'll never let Morgan live this down, that she cried over fruit because she couldn't eat a banana when she asked to have any fruit.
When she was cutting
the last 2 days of the weight cut. Like Kenji and Jean just like laying around, like had to poke them to see if they were still alive, because that weight cut was brutal. But more than that was just hearing like some of the conversations, because there's that hurry up and wait period. Yeah. Between the fights, and when it's a 3-day event, and with Stellar thrown in there too, there's a lot of that time. So what I like to see the most was like if you told somebody that these were all like kids in the same family, they would believe you, because like the amount of support that they have for each other. Yeah. And just people showing up, and it was without being there and actually experience it, it's kind of hard to explain. So that's kind of like the best way to explain it is truly like their family members. And they were dug in for the weekend. They might have, gone home and come back, whatever the case was, but they're, pulling for each other, helping out, prepping for the fight, for their individual fights and matches. So that's kind of the coolest part for me, aside from watching them get in there and get some stuff done. But
they definitely showed massive camaraderie. For me, it was a lot of takeaways for me. One of the things that really, and I know gym owners will understand this, especially in our space. One of the things that really stuck out to me was, we got busy. We got busy. We went 9-4 for the weekend. We took 2 championships home. We went Joey Addison lost his fight in a close decision. Joey won his fight in spectacular fashion, which Joey had to cut 18 pounds in one day. That's insane. Right, at heavyweight because of we had a last minute replacement. Let me back up. The amount of drama and like the amount of
the adversity
shit that they had that they had to go through. Yeah. Jean had a nasty weight cut. He had suffered a bad ankle injury doing some stupid shit. But anyway, he suffered a bad injury, which pushed him back on his weight cut, right? Pushed him back on his sweating. He couldn't kick. He never used his left leg. Joey had his fighter pull out the last minute. Yep. Morgan wanted to do a weight class that was out of her reach, and she kind of got a late start on it, and that was just like a mishap on all of our judgment calls on that one. So she couldn't get to that weight that she wanted to go to. Addison had a late start on his camp because he, was in driver's school, and we got a late fight for him, and then you had, Corey, I think Corey, Kenji, and, Mike, Big Mike, and Leo. I think they all had a pretty solid path to what they wanted to do, but there was so much adversity, and even with Morgan's fight, she didn't make. We went to the weight class above because she wasn't going to make the weight, and then they kept us in the same weight class. So they kind of fumbled it on WKA's side, but then what ended up happening with her is that girl got TKO the day before, and her coach come up to us that
like it was
day
she was like fighting. An hour before.
It was like an hour before they were going to fight, saying, "Hey, she's not going to be able to fight," and so we had to turn around and see what they could shuffle on day 3, the last day. Well, come to find out, they put her in 2 weight classes up. They put her in she was in the 125. They put her in the 139.
With rules she is not trained for.
With Muay Thai rules. She's never had done it before. She's getting elbow. And she said she was a gangster. And she might have had her cycle pop in that same day that she goes to, her female cycle pop up that same day she was, trained. So that always adds, extra adversity for female fighters. And, but our number one core value is FYA. Fuck your excuses. So we go in there and we act like gangsters and we do gangster shit. And
it would be really easy to be like, okay, well, I'll just pack my little cooler and go home. But
Addison literally forgot his mouthpiece and his cup, so we bowled his mouthpiece the day of. Like we had so much weird shit and weird adversity. But at the end of the day, Matt and Morgan didn't get the win, but she fought her ass off against a fucking way stronger, bigger person. But she fought her ass off and never gave up, and that was just the cool thing. So, but we got busy too. You know what I mean? The adversity that faced was one thing, but we also got busy and really was making a name for ourselves, like we always do. And had so many competitors ready to go with just me and Greg.
Yeah.
Like me and Greg were just running it from sun up to sundown. What it's no secret, right, that if you're around here and you know us, we had one of our star guys, our top guys, roll out, and I took him off the schedule, and he didn't agree with that, and he decided he was going to just leave, and that's what it was. And when he did that, there was a couple of of our coaches that went, a couple of our members that went. It wasn't a mass exodus. There was a handful, but there was this void, you know what I mean? There was this void at the gym. This guy, I love him like a son and still wish him well, you know what I mean? Don't wish any ill will on anybody, you know what I mean? We just don't do life together no more and don't do business together. But at the same time, you know what I mean? I don't have any ill wills for anybody, But there was no secret that happened. And when that happened, there was a lot of confusion and being torn in the gym, right?
Mm-hmm.
The gym was torn. The gym was, they felt like, mom and dad just got a divorce or
that's exactly how I was
something
going to
weird
describe
happened,
it. Like,
right?
What do I do?
And, as a coach and as the leader, I still have people ask me what happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
This was almost 2 years ago, right? They still ask me what happened with that. And the reason being is because I didn't go out here running my mouth. I didn't go out here, the people closest to me know, you know what I mean? Obviously. But I didn't go out here running my mouth and having to bash people and then try to get people to two sides. Look, you're either going to be on or you're going to be off, right? It is what it is. So I still have people today not knowing how that thing shook up. And, we were really close, not knowing what went down. It is what it is. My main focus as a leader and as a coach was, okay, cool. We can't let any of the distractions fool us. We're going to rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had lost like 5 of our guys that were really in the competitive world. They were college kids too. So, a handful of the college kids went home.
Right.
It was a good core group that we had that, and it wasn't all because of the him leaving. It was just a series of events that all just seemed to happen at the same time. And we had to, my focus was like, all right, cool. We're going to eliminate all the distractions and we're going to rebuild. I've rebuilt this gym. This is my 3rd rebuild. Right, we've done this 3 times.
I mean, take a look around and go, okay, where are we? And that's all right. This sucks, but we got to keep going. We can't stop the momentum.
But
too.
And it's easy to say that, right? But when you're in it,
oh yeah,
and when you get the little,
say it now,
when you get the little shade thrown, and you get the little, you see the little bullshit, you hear all the gossip. One thing about me is, folks, here's a life lesson for you. If you want to know anything, shut the fuck up. Just don't say anything. Just listen. They will tell you every single thing from every single body because everybody wants to talk about themselves or talk about somebody else. So the biggest thing for you is if you ever want to find out something, just don't say nothing. Just sit back and relax. They'll tell you. And, I hear everything that comes across my desk. I hear everything that, people are saying this, people going here. And I just said, dude, I don't care. I'm limiting myself from the gym's dramas that were going on that, I kind of found myself, whether it was on me or not, I found myself entertaining. You know what I mean?
You got limited hours, you got limited time, limited, energy. So where are you going to put it?
Correct. And what I did was I put all my efforts in my team and in our members, right? I put all my focus on them and I just eliminated the distractions. I said, I'm not playing ball no more. And that was the satisfying part for me this weekend because, here's another thing, right? Is we don't have athletes that are performing right now. Like, we don't have, Joey is a collision lineman, you know what I mean? Or collegiate. Yeah,
well, that too.
He's a collegiate lineman, but he's not a guy that is like naturally gifted with like, an 8-foot vertical or, anything like that. He's, he's just a dog. He's a hard worker. He works his ass off, but we don't have any like spectacular uber athletes that are,
this whole group this weekend too. It's not like they came from somewhere else.
That's what I'm talking about.
And they're already seasoned, and now they've decided, I want to train at your gym.
We did it again. We built up solid people that are bought into the program. We're building them up, and they are doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're drilling. They're in here killing. They're in here getting busy. They're dogs when you need them to go. And I mean, we had about three of the fights, maybe four of the fights. I had to be like, dude, it's time to lock in. Like, you have to go this round or you've lost this fight.
Yep.
And they all came out there and put a show on. I mean, put a fucking show on. But I've taken these guys, myself, the coaches here, we've taken these guys and we've built them from the ground up. We've installed in the basics, the fundamentals. We've installed in the concepts, the mindset, that's things like that. And that was like the biggest takeaway for me is like, okay, cool. It's not necessarily always the people that are in play. I mean, it certainly is, but excuse me, let me rephrase that. It's just as much as the people in play as it is the philosophies and the systems and processes, right? We've got a winning philosophy. You know what I mean? We've got an outstanding record in the cage here locally that we've been competing at. We've got the most active guys here on the Eastern Shore. We've got the most fresh and youngest guys.
That's not even half of them right
now.
No,
we got a whole stable of these fucking lions that are ready to go. And it was just like, it was one of those things, man, when you really believe that you got it and you believe in people and believe in just what you do, that you do best. And what I do best is not trying to toot my own horn, is I get people prepared for fights. I get people mentally locked in and physically locked in and skillfully locked in for fights.
Well, and that's shout out to you and Greg too. Like that 8 competitors over 3 days, multiple fights. Yeah. And because of the process that you go through and that Greg has, adopted or, has come into being here, that's like, because of that, you guys know when you're cornering somebody, that individual, not just the technicality of, okay, you're a body and your body needs to do this, and this, A, B, C, and D to win this. You can go in and you know their strengths, their weaknesses, you know what they need to prove, from that first round, what they need to do. And because you know them, you can have a better conversation in 10 seconds about what they need to do. And I mean, that's just crazy. Because think about all the prep, you guys do, because you've cornered more than a couple, right?
Yeah.
Going into it, just for one fight or 2 fights in a night, maybe at like Stellar or something. Yeah, that many competitors, that many fights.
We have 13 fights total.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to remember how many.
I think we had 9-4.
So that's a lot of fucking coaching. That's a lot of cornering. That's a lot. So that's, I think it would be overwhelming for some people, but because you're so in tune with your fighters day in and day out, I think that speaks a lot to the success there.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I mean,
and because I see it, because I can see it and recognize it.
Yeah, what Coach Greg White, the Warrior Greg White, has done since he's come in here is, nothing shy of what SBY does all the time. I mean, this is what SBY MMA does. We just look. Somebody said what y'all's bet. I went to one of these meetups in Texas and Dallas, and somebody was like, what is about your gym, man? I see all the stuff online. What makes it so different? And because everybody has the best gym, everybody has the hardest working gym, everybody has the greatest guys and greatest coaches. Like everybody's working hard out here. The thing that we have the most, I think, that is like the separator is we have a culturally accepted buy-in where, like, as a whole, as a group, everyone's just bought in. And everyone's kind of like, I'm not going to believe anybody's bullshit, but I'm going to give everybody a shot. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to give everybody a shot to kind of say what it is and what we can do and how can we do life. And I think the other thing is when you have the leadership understands that, first of all, we don't give a fuck. Like, we're not going to sit here and be on some dumb shit where, we're not going to be weird and make the women and, people and the parents feel weird. And, we're not going to be awkward when we have conversations. We're not going to be all macho and think, we're going to come here and we're going to do our work and we're going to open this up as a personal development vessel. And then when you say, look, from the leadership down, the leadership's like, they're about their business. They're committed to they're committed to their people. They're committed to the people that they say if they're going to show up, they're going to show up. Greg finished that whole weekend, dude. You know what I mean? Greg finished that whole weekend. Did the same amount of time as I did. He actually did a little bit more because he went there earlier than I did because he was a little bit closer, right? And you know how I am. I'm always late 20%. I'm like, I show up when I need. I don't want to sit around waiting anymore. I have to. I get so frustrated with that. And then on Sunday night, calls me around 10:30. Hey, what up, coach? I said, man, well, I'm worn the fuck out, man. He's like, yeah, I just got done with a session in Brock back at Salisbury. I just got home. Like after all of that, because Brock didn't get a chance to compete,
Right.
Brock got a session back here at the gym in Salisbury, 45 minutes away. You know what I mean? Then he had to go another 60 minutes home, which is just an example of what we do here. We go above and beyond for our members, right? Because we expect our members to do the same for us, right? We expect our members to go above and beyond. Being a mediocre person, just barely meeting the standard or just living up to the standard, and that's it. It's not a pathway to greatness. Being a person of greatness and being a person of elite stature, being someone who wants to be better than everyone else and themselves every single day, goes above and beyond in every single thing that they do, no matter what it is. It's not just me, I'm going to be the great guy and meet the standard and expect all be flourished with nothing but blessings. You got to go all in all the time, above and beyond. And that's the core values, the philosophies. That's what we install in our people. And you saw that from Brock, and you saw that from Sev, and you saw that from yourself, and you saw that from everybody who was there on the side helping out. You know what I mean? A couple of the moms, like everybody was willing to go to help.
I was speaking of moms too. Christina came in and said Leo and Corey, they didn't stop till like midnight last night. They were home. They were home working on things.
Yeah.
I was like, you're kidding. She's like, no. She's like, I had to tell them just like stop.
They're obsessed, man.
It's like, yeah.
Corey had Leo fought her heart out, man. It was her first tournament that we've seen. She fought her heart out. She went in there and got busy. Came up short on the decision. Last round, if she'd have fought like the last round, you know, she probably would have had a different outcome. And we saw some holes in the game.
But dude, she got out of the ring. She came over, acted like she had hardly been in a match at all. Well, and I was like, "What?" She's like, "I love that. That was fun." I was like, I know she literally would have gotten back in there 30 minutes later if they said, "Hey, we got another fight for you."
Dude, she told me she couldn't breathe in the corner from all those knees she was taking. I was like, well, you are breathing. Try this. You know what I mean? And she got back out. She's like, I love it. I mean, the whole family's crazy, man. Shotgun Sean is our pro fighter who is the big brother of all of them. He's just crazy. She did a good job. Corey, on the other hand, Corey came up. He could have won. He won his first match. Did really exceptional. The last match he could have won, but the last 30 seconds of each first and second round, excuse me, he kind of like pulled back and hesitated. You know what I mean? He wasn't getting hit, but he wasn't going first.
Right.
And I think that swayed him. The last round, I told him, I said, you cannot do this. You got to go. This is it. He just got so animated, so lit up. And they literally battled from the beginning of the bell to the last bell, just blow for blow going at it. And it was a beautiful, awesome fight. It was so great. And he was happy with that. He was disappointed about the loss, but he was happy with the fact that he put on a show and left it in the ring. And that's like the philosophy that we have. You got to show up with your fighters, man. You got to show up for your people in more ways than one, you know?
You said, sorry, before I forget.
Yeah.
So you said something, I was, you know, a couple nights before this past weekend came up, and you're like, they're ready. Like, and I'm thinking, like, because there's a couple in my mind that was like, you know, still kind of seeing this, and like, they're ready. And you're like, yeah, they're ready. And I was like, I don't think I've ever heard him say that 100% about everybody going in, and you're like,
never
oh yeah,
have.
You're like, oh yeah. So
never have. They
because you don't. I mean, also it's like not going to lie to somebody and sugarcoat shit either. Because you're like, here, this is your deficit. That's your, you know, you need to look out for this. But when you said that, I was like, damn, okay, all right.
Yeah, they
were.
I mean, everyone showed up, man. Everyone showed up, and everyone was ready to go. You know, and you know, it was just one of those things where I saw in them the hunger and the dedication, and it all came together. And, you know, Chet, I was talking to him because all the camaraderie, and, you know, they're like, you know, I make jokes all the time. I'm like, and I'm hard on y'all, ain't I? You know what I mean? They're like, yeah, nah. And then one of them's like, nah, you're not really hard on us. I said, no, I'm not really hard on you. Like, if you think about it, I'm not really that hard on you. I hold you guys to a standard. I hold you guys to a standard that I expect you to meet the standard. And, you know, when you hold people to a high standard, you're going to have people leave.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have pushback. You're going to have people that aren't going to be bought in, right?
And you also have people who get it and then thank you for it.
But when you have the people that get it, when you have the people that, you know what I mean, understand that this standard is more than just me trying to, like, somebody trying to like have their thumb on my back, that this standard is trying to help me exceed and excel in life, then it's a whole different conversation. It's a whole different relationship.
Yeah.
You know, Jean, he was our standout superstar. Him and Kenji, they both won. I was worried. I was visibly worried about John the day, like while we're warming up. Like he just felt flat. He was like not, I mean, he was just like, it was almost like he wasn't there. And I misread it so much. Me and Greg both misread it, right? When he got that first fight, he was untouchable. I mean, he was like Neo in the Matrix. And what I realized was he was super laser focused. And he had an unfortunate match in the second fight where when they were fighting, when the guy clinched him, the guy's shoulder popped out of the socket. But that guy John felt it. John knew he was going to finish him. And I knew it right away by the body language. Like we were going to have that fight unless it was like a fluke incident. And then we went up against once of Vince Mosca's guys in ground control. You know what I mean? I love that school. I've always got so much respect for them. And that was a real big war. You know what I mean? And we squeaked out the victory on that one, the decision. And then he went to war with the Kaizen guy, and it was just an awesome fight, and it was great. But afterwards, he was just like, Coach, actually this was after day 2. He said, Coach, it was like everything you've taught me, all's making sense right now in this moment. You know, he's like, there's been so many things I just didn't understand, didn't know what you were talking about, and kind of like, you know, I was like, all right, Coach, whatever you say, but I really didn't agree with. He said, in this point, like, I understand what you're saying. Like, I can see so much of it in the fight now. And I get it, you know. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn. Like I'm not acting like I'm the greatest coach because SBY, those competitors, our coaching staff, myself, we have so far to go. Like we are nowhere near where I want to be, and I would love to be. And I look at some of these guys, and I look up to and admire in the coaching space and gyms and things like that. And I'm like, no, we're doing a monkey show back here compared to what these guys are doing. But it does give me a good feeling knowing that the philosophies and the grit and the commitment's there. You know what I mean? And the commitment is very solid and very there and from all fronts. And when you have a buy-in like we do from our guys and gals, man, the synergy's on. It just connects, you know. But you were right, man. They only saw 8 of them.
Right.
You know, we've got a whole another 8 of them in the stable ready to go. Like we got to call, and then, you know, in about a year and a half, 2 years, we're going to have like 5 of them making a Stellar Fights debut in MMA. You know what I mean? We won't even be doing the kickboxing. We'll be going straight to MMA in 5 different weight classes. So, you know, it's exciting. It's exciting times. And, you know, I was really proud of the guys and gals of what they did and how they held their own and how they showed up. And, you know, I was proud that everybody won and lost with integrity and you know, just showed out and everyone was happy.
That was something I was going to say too, is like that everybody, you know, no matter the outcome, I mean, just the sportsmanship. Yeah. You know, that was good. Everybody was super respectful. I mean, both, I didn't see any kind of weird shit that would, you know, happen. So that was,
one incident when Corey when Kenji won the title and beat that big, this dude was so much taller than Kenji. When he beat him, their coach wasn't happy. You know, coach kind of acted like a dick. You know, I wasn't.
That was the first day?
That was the first day.
I missed it.
He was all happy at the end of the fight because they thought they won. And I think they won the 3rd round. I thought, but the first, second, there was no way. You know, the kid didn't do enough. And the coach was like, you know, you didn't win that fight. And he wasn't even trying to shake Kenji's hand. I was like, what a fucking jerk.
Okay. Well, there's one.
But that was only one thing. That was, you know, and in the coach's defense, I mean, you just get so excited and caught up in it. You know, you gotta really kind of prepare yourself as a coach to be like, okay, I cannot act like a maniac and wild out because I don't, you know, because you're the example, you know, and that's the part I disagreed with. You know, we're the example, you know, no matter what. You know, a coach's role is more than just showing up to the fight to get it prepared for the fight. You know, this is a thankless job. You know what I mean? We're not the fighter, so the fighter gets all the eyes on them. I mean, look how much time you spend with people when they leave. You know what I mean? When you hold them to a standard. You know, I've spent years with people, and you know, the guy we were talking about earlier, I spent years with that kid. You know, built him up, and you know, he didn't like a couple things, and things weren't working out, and then you know, boom, he's gone. You don't get any payback for that. You don't get any, you know, there's no contracts, and most of the time there's no contracts between a coach and a fighter. A fighter can have a contract with the management team, with the promotion, with the sponsorship deal, but not with their coach, right? And that's kind of like a weird thing that happens is like the coaches can just, all of a sudden, and I mean, I think it's fair because I don't think you should hold anybody by a contract, but I think there is there should be some more than just, especially today, because today we don't have the loyalty like we used to.
Yeah,
right?
I kind of feel there should be a little more than a handshake agreement.
Correct, correct. Especially because of the hours that the fighter pours in. The fighter doesn't realize that the coach pours in more hours than you do.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Two of you so this weekend, you, Greg, and how many of them? And then like multiply the hours in the gym beforehand. Like you said last night, he was here at 10 o'clock last night.
So that's a real thankless job, and that's a job that like you don't get any props to show up. You don't even get any props to you are there to help facilitate somebody else's dreams and achieve their goals. You also are there to protect these fighters, right? Not just from the outside threats, but you're also there to protect them from themselves. Because the fighters are just as self-destructive as anything else, right? They could be even more harmful to themselves than any threat outside from the world or wherever. And it's one of those things. Now on the flip side, I don't believe in coaches not getting paid. I don't believe in coaches not earning money for their time. There's this weird thing in the space right now where these coaches, I don't know what it is. I don't know, I know like a lot of coaches have different whys, right? And I know like a lot of coaches want to have that guy or that gal that they can go all the way to with, right? And sometimes that just happens by accident. Sometimes, somebody with immense amount of talent, that's who I was to Eric. You know what I mean? When I was come in, I was just one of these guys that, yes, sir, no, sir, whatever you say, worked my ass off, had this goal, sold a lot of tickets, fought my ass off, and was able to do some great things. And here we are today. Sometimes you get that person who comes in and you want to follow them and take them because you see the potential in them and stuff like that. But really, a lot of coaches have a lot of different philosophies. Me personally, we got to be paid. We got to be paid. The coach and the gym owners have to be paid because you got to first of all, you have to have a facility to train in. That's like the most dumbest fucking concept that I ever heard when it comes to these other gyms that, I'm supposedly in competition with is like and it's not just our market either. It's everywhere. Everywhere has this issue in this sport. You'll have these, first of all, you got to identify, if you're a gym owner, right? Let's switch gears on this conversation. Before I do that, this episode is brought to you by SBY MMA and Fitness, your leading combat sports gym on the Eastern Shore. You want to get your kid or your youth into combat sports? Come check out SBY MMA and Fitness. We make champions. Back to my point. If you want to, you got to recognize who you're in business against, right? We're a legitimate business, okay? We're not a club. We're not, we have all of the things that you need to have to be a legitimate business, okay? We have the insurances, we have the tax IDs, we have the accountants, we are a business, right? We're not, and I'm not shitting on anybody out there who isn't a business, but for me, I'm not in competition with some, club that's wherever that's not a legitimate business, okay? You can call yourself a business owner all you want, but if you're not really a business, you're not a business owner. You're a club, you're a hobbyist, okay? And that's nothing wrong with that. I'm not shitting on that. But first of all, for me, I had to identify who am I in competition with, right? I'm not in competition with other gyms in the combat sports space. I'm in competition with gyms that bring in people, right? That want to get their health right. That's who I just happen to be in that space. And I have a little bit different, weirder, kind of cooler deal than most people do, but that's what I chose to do. And there's a lot of fucking, as you know, moving parts and a lot of challenges to have all this fucking crazy shit. Yep. You got to identify that. And the next thing is, okay, cool. I am here again. The reason why we have to make money is to keep the lights on so that we have a hub to train. For the longest time in the beginning, Chet, I had to reason with myself to say, well, at least I have a free place to train. Because I would either lose money the first month or so, or lose money that month, or I would break even or make $100, something minute. I had to just accept the fact that I said, well, I could not have a place to train, but I got that. So that's cool, right? And then as we grew and as I got more educated and took my time to get into business, we started looking at the potential, you know what I mean? So you got to keep the lights on. in order to keep the lights on, you got to cater to the members who are going to be the ones that are going to pay the bills. You have to cater to everyone, right? But I can't, you have to make sure that experience and that product and that service is A1. Again, back to the core values, you have to go above and beyond with all that stuff, right?
Yep.
And that's not saying that, you know, anybody is more important than everybody. When you have a solid baseline of what we're supposed to do, that's the way you follow it. But I can't go running and jerking the fighters off because, you know, they're the top guy and they sell tickets and stuff like that. That actually doesn't make us money. Like, I lost money this weekend.
No
To be fully transparent, I lost money being, I missed classes that I was supposed to teach. I lost money that I was supposed to do. All my stuff's got pushed back for 3 days. Like, we lost money doing what we did this weekend, right? Now, lost money is kind of figurative because there was a lot of exposure. There was a lot of, you know, it was a team building. There was a lot of great things that we got in the interim, but I didn't make any money. So the fighting side is not what is the most profitable side in the beginning or with gyms in our space. So, you know, but as a coach, you have to be paid for your time. We spend so much time working on our expertise, working on our craft, doing what we're supposed to do. Why the hell am I not going to be paid for this? Why am I going to, and I'm not saying I don't have to do everything for money, but if you're, it goes back to the old training. Good training ain't free and free training ain't good.
Right.
You know? But I've been against spaces that'll say, oh yeah, let your guys come in, just get them a membership. You can do whatever you want. And, oh yeah, you know, you'll get a free membership. You know what I mean? Like, just to try to inflate the numbers or try to inflate the mat space, but then it never, ever, ever works out.
Yeah,
you know?
you're going about it the wrong way. And again, you know, identifying which lane are you in. I mean, how do you handle it after that? But
if you want to be a hobbyist, that's great. If you've got to, you know, if you want to have a gym that you want to just have nothing but killers and, you know, that's what you guys want to do. And you guys got,
but if you're bouncing back and forth between those two things, we're a business,
as like
business
the owner, right? As a gym owner. Yeah.
It's like, you can't really have it both ways.
Yeah. Bouncing back when, you know, when you want it to be a business and you're bored versus bouncing back, you know, when you're not, you know, like, okay, cool. It's no secret that the summertime is generally a slower time for gyms in, you know, the Eastern Shore, Salisbury area. Okay, cool. Well, you know, if your mats don't have anybody, or down in Ocean City, if your mats are empty during the wintertime, right? That don't mean that's time to come out here and want to be a business all of a sudden and start hating on everybody just because you're bored. Why don't you go fucking invest in your business? Why don't you invest more into your craft and not worry about what everybody else is doing and all that stuff, you know? I don't know. It just, this weekend really solidified how, you know, how much SBY has really been focusing on building ourselves. You know, we've been focusing on I've been focusing on the team. I've been focusing on the coaches. I've been focusing on here. We're trying to get this to a space where, you know, we're dialed in. And, you know, kudos to you and Owen and, you know, when Andrea was here and all the other team, Margot and Connor and all of our team in the background, because, you know, that's helped me really be able to get into what I'm really good at. And that's, you know, building cultures, building people, building up groups.
And we can't forget about everybody who supports. One of the things I always love, I love it, is when we're at Stellar Fights and we've got somebody walking into the cage and they announce who they are and where they're from, and like half of the fucking building, is going off.
It goes off.
And it's like, okay, yeah, there's something to this, huh?
Yeah,
So I mean, everybody, like, I mean, for, you know, the other members here, they buy tickets, they come out, the families, spouse, I mean, everybody who supports. And then we even have people that can't even make it here that are streaming stuff online, that are, you know, give me an update, like sending, you know, DMs throughout the weekend, wanting to know how everybody's doing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, you know, I'm not trying to make it about me, but I mean, I guess it is with Branden Hudson. I was the highest draw Stellar Fights has ever had. You know this, but I don't know if our viewers know. So I fought 11 times. You know what I mean? I started MMA late. I got into the game really late. But each fight, I've sold more tickets than anybody else has sold in the history of Stellar Fights. So, like, you know, that's, and I mean, I would sell 13, 14 tables at a time. I mean, when you went to my fights, you would, I mean, it was, first of all, so if it was in the exhibit hall, I mean, that place was deafening, wall to wall, deafening. You can only hold 1,500 people. You know what I mean? I'm 300 of those people. You know what I mean? Then when we would go outside in like the Kent building and things like that, you know, you had like, I mean, there was tables and chairs and I mean, it was so packed. It was so packed anytime I fought. And what was cool, I bring that up is what it's cool is SBY still rings bells when it comes to people showing up. You know what I mean? People still, you know, it might not be to that magnitude, but, you know, it's still, you know, it shows we really are, our guys and gals are really supportive of what we're doing and where we're at, which, you know, we can kind of close this out unless you got something else you want to.
No, I just didn't want to forget to thank, you know, everybody who did support, whether they could come out or not. Because they support in so many ways all the time.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you guys for coming out. Shout out to the fighters. But I wanted to say this real quick. You know, they don't know it because you're going to hear this in about 2 weeks. We are pleased to announce that in the 4th year in a row, we have been voted best of combat sports in Wycomico County for, you know, from Coastal Style magazine, which is it's cool because the first time we got voted in one, I didn't even know we were nominated. You know, and I've never asked nobody to vote for us. You know what I mean? Like you'll get on the pages and do it, and other people will, but I've never, you know, asked nobody personally, hey, vote for me. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. Just not my style. You know what I mean? I think we're very loved and very appreciated. Our people really show up for us every single year, man. It's so cool, and it's a huge honor to know that our hard work gets recognized. So, you know, that was the big thing that we were very proud of, is that, you know, for the 4th year running, and not to mention it's the 4th year that we've actually been with the expansion. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, you know, once we really stepped up and you know, went kind of from like the trailer park to the gated community look, you know what I mean? I mean, dude, this has been, and Chet can tell you guys, this has been a fucking hard ass journey. This path and this route has been hard as shit, you know, with the things we just didn't know and trying to work for me. I mean, that was, you know,
we're just getting started.
Fucking madman as it is. You know, we've been through so much adversity, and that's kind of probably exactly why our fighters can handle it so well, because, you know, it's a battle, it's a war every single day. But yep, big shout out to everybody at SPY. Thank you all for voting, whoever supported, all the people, man. It's a big compliment, big honor to be able to get an award like that 4 years running. So, but that'll do it for this episode of Champ Talk. Like I said, man, if you guys get value from this, please share it. Please like and subscribe to the channels. You know what I mean? On any platform, all the platforms, and even more so, tell us what you think. Give us a review. We'd love to hear from you guys. We'd love to see what we can do better, what you loved, what you got from it, and what we're doing bad. So, till next time, guys, what are you doing today to become a champion?